Are you spending too much on crop protection? You probably are. We're going to help you in this episode of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve.
Welcome to XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve podcast, where real farmers share real insights and real results to help you improve your farming operation. And now, here's your host, Damian Mason.
Hey there, you know what? This is a great episode because you probably are overspending on crop protection. That's a very critical problem to address right now in this low commodity price environment, which frankly we might be in for a while. I'm joined by Johnny Verell with XtremeAg, Tennessee farmer, and Keith Miller, regional sales manager for Albaugh, and we're talking about this very topic. All right. We know that it's always this thing, how can I peel back the spend? How can I peel back the spend? Wasn't as important in 2021, 2022, when we're having literally record farm income. You could get a little sloppy. You could be a little less judicious. Right now, you better have your numbers dialed in. I know that you're a numbers guy. Do you think you're spending too much on crop protection still?
Yeah, I don't think there's a farmer out there that says that they're not, right? So, you know, a lot of inputs we can't control. The crop protection side, a lot of times we can shop it around, look around for different products out there. You know, the neat thing about some of the things going on is a lot of the products we've been using for years are getting rebranded, getting more access. You know, instead of just having one or two options, now you got 5 or 6. So.
Well, that's where you come in. Albaugh is a manufacturer of post-patent products. You've been in this game for a long time. We talked about it last night at dinner. You started your career in '88. With one of the 41 companies we named that no longer exist, I think, right?
That's true. Yeah, it's true.
And you got to be our age to even remember those companies. And you and I went through them, and the young people at the table said, I never heard of them, never heard of them, never heard of them. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. A lot has changed over the last 40 years in this industry. It's consolidated quite a bit. A lot of products that were new chemistry back in those days. It was discovery time. A lot of companies were doing that. They're bringing to the market. It was a lot of branded things. Over a period of time, that's all changed, though. Those companies have gone away by consolidation. They've had to chase other things. They got into seed and things like that. And now those old chemistries, they're still around, though.
That's right.
So they're just being offered in a different way for our growers, and that is a way that they can save some money.
So that's good. So you're talking about going the route of post-patent products, which obviously is what you do. That's one route. I want to get into all the other ways we can reduce the spend on crop protection. So from a farmer's perspective.
Yeah,
okay,
so
well, we obviously going the route of getting yesterday chemistry in a different package, that's the easiest way.
yeah, and I think you look back at how farming's evolved the last 20 years. We had one product that you could spray that took out everything. Mm-hmm. So we stopped using a lot of products that we had that were working very well. Well, now it's like we can go back to those products that are out there, you know, through companies like them that are available to the farmers now that do the exact same thing they used to do, work very well. You don't have the resistance built up in those, and you got multiple modes of action that honestly we hadn't used in a long time. So being able to partner with companies like that have those options out there now is a big deal going forward, because the one button we used to push that took care of everything doesn't work anymore.
Because we overused it.
The old glyphosate.
No glyphosate.
Yep. Yep.
I came back to the farm and I said, what the hell is this weed? I used to name my weeds when I was an intern for DuPont. I could be like, lamb's quarter, ragweed, I go velvet leaf. Like, I'd never seen this before. And then everybody said, well, you haven't been around for a few years. We got a whole bunch of weeds that you've never seen before. So anyway, there are weeds that came about, and I never even thought about it until obviously I started hearing from my farmer friends. They said, yeah, those are all because of glyphosate overuse. So now we have a bunch of, I said, but that's not just a resistant one, that's a new one. We started seeing new ones, right?
We saw them in bigger numbers.
Mare's tail or whatever.
That's what, they'd been around forever. They've been in the soil. They've been either south or north or east or west. They've been around, and they just moved into a void when there was chemistry that wasn't controlling them. They established themselves in your fields,
like starlings.
Yeah, they do. And can't say they're migratory like starlings might be or birds might be, but they definitely move around. And birds and animals and everything else do a good job of moving those weeds.
All right, so we're going to reduce the spend because we opened up by saying we could help. And we are going to help the farmer that's watching, listening to this, how they can reduce spend on crop protection. Okay, we're going down the route of using a post-patent product. Where did you start? Okay, I mean, we're not using Lasso and Dual anymore to go back to his era. Did you like that? I came up with 40-year-old products.
Yeah.
It's very true. Very true.
I think at the end of the day, we really are starting to use those products. A lot of times farmers don't even realize, working with companies like what he's involved with, that we're using their products every day. And it's just because they're packaging them for other companies that we're already using. But we were talking beforehand, we listed off 3 or 4 products that I was using on my farm this year that they're manufacturing. So they're out there. I think the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway is farmers that used to be able to hit one button that took care of everything. And then we transitioned into, you got some of these name brand companies that had a product that did a lot of things for us that are $15-20 an acre. Now we can go back to doing some of these off-patent things, cut that cost in half, and still get the same thing we're looking for. A lot of times the same modes of action.
Okay, where else can I start peeling back? First off, the array of products is, there's less companies, fewer companies than there were back in the golden age, right? You and I talked about it at dinner last night. But the array of products is as great as it's ever been, all right?
The war chest is big.
The war chest is big.
It really is. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is just keep coming out with new things that have already been out there, but get those products back to the marketplace.
Well, if you go historically, what used to happen is you'd have a company that had 3, 4, 5 different products, and they would try to build a herbicide program for you around their products. And that was your alliance with a rep or alliance with a dealer, whoever it was. That was where their comfort zone was at, and you bought into that. Resistance, different things have happened, consolidation, all that, but a lot of the basic companies still stick with their small portfolio of products. You come to a company like what Albaugh has to offer as products have become off patent. We actually have 50 AIs in our portfolio that we can pull from to help build a program for you on your farm to control not only the easy weeds, but the very tough weeds. And when we do that by combining all those, we do save some money to the grower, either on the upfront cost or in the production itself by eliminating pressures.
And they give us multiple options too to buy from. It's not like they're just packaging for one company or
Well, it becomes brand agnostic, and that's kind of, in other words, in like the old days, they wanted you to use our stuff, obviously, and that was the package. How else can I save money on crop inputs? All right, I'm going to go and throw it out here on crop protection, I should say. Are we overusing?
I think sometimes we are, for sure. A lot of times there's something in there, there's an active in there that we really don't need. And so going back to the old school ways where you're able to buy the individual ones is a big step.
Fungicide overused? We've asked this question before. Is fungicide overused in American agriculture?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of opportunity yet for fungicides to be used. The problem that we a lot of times come into is the economics of it. Some of them are very high priced. When you get into products that are $20, $30 an acre,
and you can go back to a $10.
We can go to $10, offer the same modes of action and the same control. I think we now have an opportunity to actually treat more acres when it's needed. We don't want to treat when it's not needed.
So you think that we should be using fungicide more systematically?
I do.
Is insecticide overused?
No, insecticides are slightly different. Insecticides are more responsive to whatever the pest shows itself. In the Midwest, we're not a big insecticide user. We're a big herbicide user. It's becoming bigger in fungicides. But insecticides is responsive. And we have not probably had the outbreaks of pests like maybe we had 10, 15 years ago.
Well, when the threshold's there, you got to spray. So, if the threshold's not there, then I don't think you need the insecticide. And I think that's what he's saying. But as things are evolving, it seems to be more and more common too.
I saw a thing at a meeting once where they showed a soybean, and they have that little diagram, because I thought, my God, spray those soybeans. And they said, really, that's not that bad, because it looks worse than it actually is, I guess. I've cut you off. You're getting ready to give an example of fungicide.
What was
I? Herbicide. You said we use a hell of a lot here in the Midwest. Are we overusing it? We got 3 weeds out there per acre, and we're going out and we're still putting out $24 of herbicide treatment?
Well, everything has changed again when we talk about herbicides, because now where we in the past maybe used a $20 an acre program, or glyphosate made it easy, now we have to go back into that toolbox and pull out multiple different modes of action.
And probably go over it at least twice.
We have to, because if a weed has become tolerant, we definitely need to use a full rate on it, and maybe we need to use a second mode of action as well, depending upon how well it's growing, how tall it is, how big it is, what the weather conditions are, all things like that. So I think as a general rule, our industry's done a very good job of stewarding the usage of herbicides, that we're not overusing them, but we're using more of the modes of action to actually get the end result of which is control.
And I'd go along with what he's saying. I think a lot of times, though, a lot of the products are made for the Midwest and they're brought to the South for us to use, and we don't have the same issues that they do. And so being able to come back and go back to your basics and use just the products you need, and it might be cheaper, it might not, but I'm not having to use some of the active ingredients that don't even benefit me at all. And so I like that aspect of it too. It's kind of like, why spray for something if you don't need it?
All right, how can I save money on crop inputs? If we said that you probably are spending more than you need to on crop protection, then besides the products, we got the going to some post patents and all that stuff, finding modes of action at work, help me save some money also. I need to save $10 an acre, Johnny. I come to you and one of your customers, how do I save $10 on this?
I think you just start building out a program from start to finish and actually know what tools you have actually out there available to use. And so by doing that, you can start off with your herbicide program, your insecticide program, your fungicide program, and at the end of the day, you start doing all those and using some of these generics and stuff like that that have been out there forever, just kind of rebranded. The money's there to be saved. And I think the perception of using generics has changed so much in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Probably the last 5 years for sure.
Yeah.
Used to, people didn't want to use those because everybody was pushing to use the new products. The marketing was good on the new side. They were like, you got to use this new stuff. When we're sitting down and realizing we don't have to have all that. A lot of the stuff that's in there we're not needing today. So being able to go back to our roots and starting back over what used to work for my dad 20 years ago is where we're at now. And I think that's where the money's to be saved. We were talking about glyphosate, right? You can buy name brand glyphosate or you can buy generic glyphosate. It's a huge price difference, but they both work the same. Both of them have the same active pounds in them.
So, by the way, if you're listening to this or if you're watching this, we have another episode at some point. They're going to both be out, and you can find them. We talked about the trust factor, and the trust factor is if you're doing the rigorous testing and you're doing the trials, like Albaugh does, then it's what are we risking here?
Yeah. Well, they've got a name back in the brand, and that's something that you didn't see years ago like you do now.
We brought up the point with his man Brian. I said, talk about generics. I don't even know that I know of a name brand of 2,4-D. That stuff's been around since like World War II.
2,4-D is the name. Yep. Yep.
Where else can I spend money on crop inputs or crop protection?
Well, I'm going to go back to your comment about what your dad used. So if I think back to the day of 1988 when I was starting in this industry, we were selling Bicep at a price in the marketplace. It was a good two-way combination of metolachlor-atrazine, and it did a great job back in the day. Fast forward to today, 2025, I'm selling a product that has both of those AIs plus mesotrione in it for about the same cost per gallon. So if you go through that almost 40-year period of time, what can we do to save costs, save money for a grower? Use the same technology, maybe even better, but a price point that it's 4 years ago.
1988 levels?
Yes.
There's not a whole lot that's at 1988 levels right now.
Unfortunately, the corn price.
Right.
That's why we got to put the tools out.
Farmers might have to take 2 or 3 products to make one that you could buy in a jug, but it's a whole lot cheaper doing it that way.
So you don't think we overuse stuff? You don't think you don't think that we're out there putting stuff out unnecessarily?
I don't. I think we do a good job in our industry.
And you don't think our rates are off?
No.
Okay.
No. I think the only thing that becomes a challenge is using the right modes of action when you need to. And we're back to a learning curve that maybe your dad knew back in the day, but over the Roundup Ready period, we lost some of that knowledge, but it's coming back as we're having to take a look at the portfolio of tools we've got and how to use them, and we're getting much more educated. So we're getting better at it.
Is the crop protection business in the other recording, our guy Brian talked about compatibility. That's always a thing where some folks blame the product instead of blaming themselves because they put stuff together that's incompatible. That certainly is going to add to the cost of crop protection.
Yeah.
Because it's going to have a failure. Or it's not going to work. Incompatibility would then reduce efficacy, which would then mean I spent money on something that didn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would think that's exactly a lot of.
You don't think that's an issue?
Well, are you talking about incompatibility on the tank mixing ability?
Yeah.
It can be an issue with certain products, definitely. High quality products make a difference. When you take a look at what your options are out there, when you can go buy something, make sure it's got a good reputation. Make sure that they have done the testing. Make sure that they are aware they've done the trials, all that kind of stuff, because that pre-work that they've done, as what we do at Albaugh, makes it simpler for you as a grower. don't be the person that discovers the problem.
Yeah.
But having a good surfactant, having your water pH correct on the farmer side really helps make all these products a whole lot more compatible too. And I think that's something that farmers are really starting to learn right now, is a lot of our issues is coming back to stuff that we can control that has nothing to do with the manufacturer itself.
But they get blamed.
They get blamed because that's the easy button.
I mean, it doesn't bother me that you get blamed, but I know that you get blamed. The pH in the water thing, I think, this is, someone says, what have you learned since you worked with XtremeAg? The pH in the water thing is huge, because I think about the hundreds of thousands of dollars of crop inputs that get dumped into that tank, and they make sure they get the right ounces, and they go through all that stuff and never think, oh, the pH of my water essentially degraded its effectiveness by 50% before it even got to the field.
Well, we were talking about fungicides, right? You get a high pH high pH water and put a fungicide in it, you've got minutes or hour before the efficacy's gone.
Yeah.
And so we didn't realize all that years ago. My dad didn't realize
I
that.
didn't realize until this year.
That's right, and it's really changed. But I think when you figure out how that program works on your farm, what you need to do to fix your water for it to work right, when you add other products in, the tank mix is always going to work a whole lot better.
I mean,
really
this is a little bit off topic, but it's not really, because we opened, are you overspending on crop protection? Well, if your water's bad, you're overspending because you ain't getting any value out of the product.
That's right.
Very true.
That's right.
Very true.
And it doesn't matter what you save on the product if it's not working.
Yeah, you can buy the cheapest, you get the best deal in town on the crop input. There's something like, if your water is over 8 on pH, that glyphosate's half-life is like 50 minutes or something. Like, you couldn't even stop and grab a Coke and then get to the field before it's already. Have you heard this? I just found out this year.
There are some classes of chemistry that do have a rapid response and breakdown.
Your insecticides, your fungicides are really fast if your pH
And
is
I don't even know what my pH of my water
Well,
is.
a lot of
Can
people
you tell by
use-
tasting it?
Not me, no.
If it's city water, municipal water, it's going to be a higher pH almost every time.
Hardness is a factor
Yeah,
too.
hardness is a big deal. But there's a lot of things that you can control and really make these products work.
Last thought on crop inputs and how to make sure that I'm getting my bang for my buck, because we already we covered it. The product, we talked about looking at your water, and then we talked about making sure, and you're convinced that everybody's rates and they're not overusing. So you really don't think that's the big chance to save a nickel isn't there. You think the big chance to save a nickel is on the product mix?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Well, I think that we learned this lesson a few years ago when Roundup came out. We actually started using lower use rates of pre-emerge herbicides.
Yeah.
And that became part of our problem.
We invented the Frankenstein.
Well, it was cheaper than using a pre-emerge. You could re-spray cheaper.
Yeah, it was.
That's what caused it.
So we saw a lot of half-use rates, and then the Roundup over the top, and then now we've got this problem weed that we don't control with a heavy enough rate on pre-emerge, and then the resistance. Today, as we've moved to where we're at, I believe the full use rates are common.
Yeah.
That people are saying, I can't afford to do what I did 20 years ago because that lesson burned me, and I won't do that again.
Yeah. So he's out on the full half use rate.
Which is good for sales. Good for sales, right? Yeah. Use the full rate. Any last thoughts on how we said we were going to help somebody? We think that most people are probably dropping a couple of dollars unnecessarily on crop protection, and so.
Yeah, I just think it starts back at the beginning to have a plan in place, and that way you can go out and find the products that are available that you haven't heard of in a while, or figure out where you can get them at, because they're out there. You just got to figure it out, and we're already using a lot of them. We just don't realize it.
It's great to see all that stuff come back from the 80s, isn't it?
It is.
And I can still remember the names. We're going to do a separate video just about that. Name all the 1980s chemistry you can name.
Yeah, it's back.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. His name is Keith Miller. He is a regional sales guy for Albaugh. If I want to learn more, if the viewer and listener wants to learn more about the lineup of products that can help them save money on crop input protection, where do they go?
They can go online at albaugh.com.
Albaugh.com. He's joined by Johnny Verell with XtremeAg. We're hanging out here and doing this very special episode in person of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve. If you want to take your learning to the next level, remember there's a library of information, hundreds of videos, podcasts just like this, audio and video at XtremeAg.farm. We also are on YouTube. We encourage you to go there. Hit subscribe, doesn't cost anything. While you're there, check out our new show, The Granary, which is shot right here at my on-farm tavern with the guys from XtremeAg and industry guests. It's always a lot of fun. Pull up a chair and join the conversation. Until next time, thanks for being here. I'm Damian Mason with XtremeAg.
That's a wrap for this episode of Cutting the Curve. Make sure to check out XtremeAg.farm for more great content to help you squeeze more profit out of your farming operation.